Hey everybody, welcome to another summer craft. Today we're going to do something that is actually super simple, but can take a little while. So one thing I wanted to do is make an I Spy jar. So we have some trinket. Something I thought would be fun that you could do would be to do every time you go on a trip this summer, even if it's just to the grocery store, whatever, you pick up a little tiny trinket, some little toy, something that you're going to remember your summer by. Look at the little hedgehog. And then you can put it in your jar. Now I've provided you with a couple of different stars, or a couple different stars, a couple different trinkets, but you can pick up your own at the store or while you're out doing whatever you're going to do and kind of make it a little memory I spy as well. The first thing I would do though, before you make your jar, take a picture of your trinkets. That's going to make it a lot easier to do the I Spy because you're going to know exactly what's in there. The nice thing is you can also dump out the contents, which I have done, and sort out your trinkets. You can change them. You can do whatever you want. So it's a fun, easy. This is something that's going to give you a little bit of peace in the car, or if you're at the store, you're doing something that's a little boring for your kids or for you, because let's face it, these are for grown-ups too. So you're going to fill the jar up with rice to about here. And you're going to pour it into a plastic bag. And then there are two different things you can do. One, you could mix your rice with a little bit of vinegar and some food coloring. Okay, that is your standard way to make colored rice. Now you could just use white rice, that's fine too, but we want as many colors as possible. This was colored with vinegar and food coloring. That means if your child eats this, they will not get sick, which is awesome. But this can be a closed system. If you want, when you're all finished, you can put a little glue around the rim, stick your cap back on. It's going to be sealed. It's going to be a little time capsule, which is why I think it would be a lot of fun to do as a memory time capsule, memory I Spy. Um, but these are also just for fun. So this was done with a little bit of vinegar, and it really doesn't take much. It just takes for the about cup and a half to 2 cups of rice that you use. It took maybe a tablespoon of vinegar and then a couple drops of food coloring. The more food coloring you put in, the darker your color is going to be. Then you're going to squish it all around and then spread it out on a piece of parchment paper for a couple of hours to dry out. This is your standard. It works really well. I'm going to go ahead and put this stuff in the memory jar. Okay. Then I said, well, because when I first started looking at tutorials, I swear I saw some that said, oh, you have to bake the rice to dry it. And I was like, that is not a thing that I am interested in doing. I don't want to be that involved. So I read a tutorial that said you can use acrylic paint and rice. Same concept. You take your rice in a bag, squish some acrylic paint in there, knead it around to get all the paint evenly mixed, spread it out in a thin layer to dry on some parchment paper, and you get colored rice. And then you can have more vibrant colors. Thing is, because you're using acrylic paint, this is going to be a little toxic. So if this is something that you think your kids are going to open up and try to get into, use the vinegar and food coloring. If it's not, or you have older kids, you can use the acrylic paint and the rice. You're still going to spread it out on parchment paper. I let mine sit overnight. I thought it would come out all stuck together, because you think, oh, well, you've just painted those pieces of rice together. I was very pleased to surprise. No, it actually came out pretty much the same. Now, this looks a little shiny because I used metallic paint. You can do whatever you want. The important thing is, by the time you're done, you're going to have plenty of rice to put in your memory bottle or trinket bottle or I Spy bottle. And we can mix them all together and see now I have, oh, it looks like Sully from Monsters Inc. I love it. Okay. Now, another thing is, don't put all the rice in and then put your trinkets. Put a little bit of rice, put a couple trinkets. Put a little bit of rice, cover those bad boys up. Because I have 2 colors of rice, which I think is very cool, especially now that I have the Monsters Inc. link. Put a little bit, and then put a couple of trinkets. This is actually a pretty clean craft. You can use the plastic baggies that you mixed all your stuff up in to help spread out your rice on your parchment paper. Okay? This is probably the hardest part, is the filling of the jar, because you want to have your trinkets all mixed around. Okay? And you don't want to overfill, because you want to have a little bit of room inside the jar for everything to be able to be moved around. If it's too full, people aren't going to be able to manipulate the rice to get it to show other things. If you do this, be sure you cover the end, or you're going to have rice everywhere. Put in the last of my trinkets. I'm going to put a little bit more rice, not a whole lot. Okay? Like I said, if you're done, and you want to be sure your children don't break it open, glue your cap on. In the meantime, look at this. Say, oh, where is the green leaf? There's the green leaf. Where is the moon? There's the moon. Where's our hedgehog? Oh, we just saw him. There's our hedgehog. You can put a lot more trinkets in. You can put a lot more rice. And the nice thing is you don't have to really get a special bottle to do this, okay? I bought us special bottles because we were special and fancy this summer. Um, you can use an old water bottle. It's going to have a smaller mouth, so you're going to have to get smaller toys. But basically, it's super easy, super quick. And I mean, aside from the waiting all night, I'm trying to get away. Aside from waiting all night for my rice to dry, which probably could have been done in the sun in under an hour or sitting on the counter in a couple of hours, to get things to move to different parts, you just shake. And then shake. And you can move stuff around inside the bottles. Okay, so that is how you make an I Spy jar. Good in the car, good for trips. You can throw this in your purse. It's not very heavy. Throw it in the back of the stroller. And give the kids something to do that isn't a phone. And it kind of has a nice sound. Sounds a little like those rain sticks. All right, everybody, like I said, the colored rice is the bit that takes the longest amount of time, and that it is optional. All right, everybody, have a great week, and we'll see you next week with a new craft. Have a good one.